Phil Esposito. Espo, one of hockey's all-time greats and perhaps one of the game's most colorful characters.
You do what you have to do, and the hell with the consequences.
Phil is a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's known for grabbing rebounds and scoring goals, and I mean a lot of them.
Here's Orr coming out. Fades to the left side, winds up for the shot, picked up the rebound, right to goal, Esposito!
Espo netted 76 goals in one season, my friends. 76, the most ever in the NHL until some guy named Gretzky came along and put in over 90. Now, Phil started his career with Chicago. That was in the early 60s. But the Blackhawks traded him to Boston in 1967. That was a big mistake for Chicago because, you see, the Bruins were already a good team. They had a guy named Bobby Orr, and when Phil joined, well, he just kept on scoring.
And a pass goes to Esposito. Shoots, he goes!
The Bruins teams he played on were tops in the league, and Phillip helped them win the Holy Grail not once, but twice. Phil was also a big part of Team Canada's massive Summit Series win over Russia in 1972. Hell, he was the captain of that team, and that may be the most important sporting victory in Canadian history. Of course, you all remember that famous Paul Henderson goal, right? Well, Esposito set that goal up. He also led the team in scoring and, true to his outspoken nature, famously called out Canadian fans for booing their own players.
We're disappointed in some of the people. We cannot believe the bad press we've got.
Now, Phil retired from playing the game he loved in 1981. He got into coaching and managing. In the early 90s, he actually founded the expansion team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, these days, he's got a daily XM satellite radio show. He's also been acting in a couple of TV shows, most recently playing himself on Rent-A-Goalie.
What are you doing here, Phil?
What am I doing here? I'm playing for the Italians, you know? It's an Italian team, right?
He's Italian.
Yeah, you got a problem with that?
Yeah, you're Phil Esposito, Phil.
Everybody, please say hello to Mr. Phil Esposito. Very nice. 72. You won a Stanley Cup the year I was born.
In 72?
72.
Yeah, that was a good year for me,
yeah.
72.
Me too, actually.
I bet it was. A good year for your father and mother, too, maybe, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I hope so.
So we'll find out at the end if it was all worth it.
Yeah, that's right.
You're obviously still involved in hockey. It's great to have you on the program. We were sort of looking at the photos of you back there. We had you in the Team Canada jersey and then you in the Hall of Fame jersey because we couldn't pick which team we thought you should be on there, even though you're a Bruin.
I was a Bruin, and I went in the Hall of Fame as a Bruin. I played for them for about 9 years, I guess it was. I started in Chicago at 6-team league, and 3.5 years there. Then went to Boston.
Well, tell me about the shift. Was it your first or second shift where your skates are too small for your feet, so your skates aren't even laced up, and you get a guy saying you're going in?
Yeah.
And your skates aren't laced up.
It was my second game. I didn't play the first game, and we were in Detroit. And Billy Ray was coaching, and I'd been sitting on the bench, and I loosened my skates because I wore a 12.5 shoe, and I put my foot into a 10.5 skate. And in those days, we thought, you know, the smaller the skate, the quicker you could go.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We never even were allowed to drink water.
Really?
I never drank water on the bench. We weren't allowed.
Is that because the water would take up room for the beer in the cooler?
After the game, you're right. But no, the reason was they thought we'd cramp up.
Jesus.
So we never drank water or anything like that. And Billy Ray, by the way, said, "Okay, Esposito, you go out there." And I go. And I done it up really quick, my skates. I went out there and he said, "Let Bobby Hull take the face-off." And I look around and there's Gordie Howe, man. I mean, I was like shaking, you know, Gordie Howe. And I look and there's Ted Lindsay, Hall of Famer, Terry Sawchuk, Pierre Plot, Bobby Hull, Bill Gadsby, Glenn Hall, all Hall of Famers now. And Bobby wakes me up. He says, "You got that old so-and-so?" I said, I got him. Yeah. The puck drops. It's not 5 seconds. Gordie gives me an elbow. He's right-handed. I was left-handed. He gave me an elbow right here. Nailed me. And I could feel the blood and coming out. And he hit me here, so the tears were coming down. And I leaned back and I went, "You old so-and-so." And I swung my stick at him. And we went into the penalty box, and an usher or a cop sat between you then.
Wow.
There used to be a lot of fights in the penalty box, lots.
Would you have been able to take Mr. Hockey, or would he have
Absolutely not. To this day, I don't fool with him, okay? But I leaned over. I'm trying to stop the bleeding. I says, "And you used to be my so-and-so idol." And he looked at me and he said, what you say, Wapo? I went, ooh, nothing, Mr. Howe, absolutely nothing.
He called you Wop Boy?
Oh, absolutely, Wapo.
Wapo.
Not Bobby Orr, that's, the guys call me Wapo sometimes.
You're right. What's your book, Thunder and Lightning? Your book, man, you talked a lot about what it was like playing hockey back in those days, and you said things about Bobby Orr, you said things about other players on your team, like if Bobby couldn't...
I never gave up the guy that's still married to the same woman.
No,
never.
That's true. You protected the one guy who kept it together. But did any of the players look at you and go, what are you doing, man? You're just...
So what? It's a matter of public record. Like Derek Sanderson got mad at me because I said about his drugs and alcohol. Well, hell, he makes his living doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
Going around talking about his situation.
What did Bobby Orr say to you when he read your book?
Well, he just said to me, he says, I didn't like what you said about Derek. Yeah. He didn't say anything about what I said about him. But I also said he was the greatest player I ever played with, without a doubt. And I also said that he was one of the best team guys I've ever played with. And also that he was a good friend.
Yeah. You've been a part of hockey, not just as a player, but in management as well, and now you're a broadcaster. And it's changed an awful lot, hasn't it? Tell me about what happened in Tampa Bay.
Well, believe it or not, I've done a lot of things in the game, but that's my greatest achievement. I was running the Rangers. I was vice president and general manager of the Rangers. I had 3 years left on my contract when they fired me in '89. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was on the marketing committee of the NHL as a player and as a general manager. And I knew they wanted to expand in the South, but they did tell me, stay away from Texas. I didn't know Minnesota was going to move to Dallas, you know, but they told me to stay away from Texas. So I went to Florida. I loved Florida, the weather, and people said, Florida? How are you going to put hockey in Florida? I said, look, when I go to Montreal in January and it's 10 below or 20 below zero outside, when I'm on the ice playing, it's 68, 70, I don't know what it is, but I don't know it's 30 below zero outside or whatever it is.
Right.
So when I'm in a rink, and we keep our rink in Tampa Bay at 70, so it's 70 in the building. I don't know it's 90 outside unless I go outside.
Right.
So what do I care?
So, but it works in Tampa Bay, and they seem to be struggling in a lot of markets in the States, the NHL.
Well, not a lot of markets. They're struggling in Nashville, no doubt about that. And they've been struggling in Nashville for a long time.
Well, they had trouble getting people in Carolina for a long time.
For a long time, until they won the Cup. But last year they missed the playoffs, and they missed the playoffs before, and you can't do that. Toronto may be the only place, even Madison Square Garden, when they were missing playoffs, people didn't go. Toronto's the only place where there's fools. They keep going and they lose anyway.
Well, but that kind of plays into what I wanted to ask you, because the Leafs had a significant opportunity to make their team better by making a trade, and the ownership said to them, we don't need that player, we sell out the building. That same player you could have had years early.
That's right.
The Rangers made a deal, you made a deal for Gretzky from Edmonton.
Exactly, with Glenn Sather.
What were you going to give up for Gretz?
I was giving up Thomas Sandstrom, Kelly Kissio, Johnny Van Beesbrook, and a draft pick, but they wanted $15 million. So I went to the ownership, and they said, 15, we got Wayne.
So you said, I can get Gretzky for $15 million. This is an organization that has a lot of money. What
and
do they
say? They told me, we don't need to put people in the building. I said, I want to win. He says, win? Schmin, just put them in a building. They didn't care whether you won. A lot of, I know owners, I won't mention who they are, that want their team to go to the 7th game, and they don't want to win because of the bonus structures.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes there's 8, 10, 20, maybe $15 million of bonuses to the players to win the Cup.
All right, you say teams.
So why win?
There are lots of owners. You're talking with several owners. Name one.
I can't.
No?
No.
Too much trouble?
Yeah. I get myself in too much crap, and I get myself in crap enough, okay?
You don't need any extra trouble. I was thinking back to that speech you did in the Summit Series, right? When, you know, the fans in Vancouver booed Team Canada, and you came out and you called the fans out. The game doesn't have, I mean, Sean Avery is outspoken, but in a different way. The game doesn't have guys like that anymore.
Well, the reason I called them out was I was in shock. Number one, we were in shock about the team, because we had no idea. I thought it was coming, it was going to be like an all-star game. We're going to have some fun, joke around. We didn't train. The most ice I trained with was the ice in my glass, drinking my vodka, for crying out loud.
And then you try to score on Tretiak and look out.
Tretiak, I could beat him blindfolded. He was one of the worst goalies I ever faced.
Come on.
Without a doubt.
Well, then why did they go to 8 games then?
Well, because we were not a team in the beginning. You cannot play a team sport unless you're a damn team.
Right.
And we weren't a team until after Sweden. When we went to Sweden and all of Canada, the press called us the mafios and this and that. Whatever they wanted to call us, we didn't give a damn. And we were together then. We were a team then. And when we went to Russia, we lost the first game because, and if you remember that first game in Russia, we were in the penalty box the whole third period because of the Russian referee, or the, excuse me, it was the communist guy from East Germany.
Who was the ref?
It was the ref. And, I mean, we couldn't understand it. But after that, we never lost a game.
I want to wrap on this. Rent-A-Goalie.
I love that
I'm going to see an episode this season. You were in it last season. You're in it this season. How'd they get you in Rent-A-Goalie?
Actually, Chris Zarkin and Christopher Bolton, when they were doing the Team Canada 72 movie, actually CBC was doing it, I met them at the golf tournament, which we had. And we got talking. And Bolton said, would you come on and do the show? I said, sure. And the first show I did was that it was really funny. Because these guys are trying to clone me. Yeah. And I find out about it, and I'm pretty upset about it. But I had a blast. And I'm going to do a couple of shows again this year. I just enjoy it so much.
You even get on skates, man. You're even on skates.
I put the skates on and went back out there. But, George, the truth is, every day, I think that I could still play.
It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
George, I've had a blast.
Thanks. Phil Esposito. You got to listen to his satellite radio show. If you love hockey, listen to In the Slot. It's on XM on NHL Home Ice. We'll be right back. One of the parts of the show you guys love the most is the 1972. Hell, he was the captain of that team, and that may be the most important sporting victory in Canadian history. Of course, you all remember that famous Paul Henderson goal, right? Well, Esposito set that goal up. He also led the team in scoring and, true to his outspoken nature, famously called out Canadian fans for booing their own players.
We're disappointed in some of the people. We cannot believe the bad press we've got.
Now, Phil retired from playing the game he loved in 1981. He got into coaching and managing. In the early 90s, he actually founded the expansion team, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, these days, he's got a daily XM satellite radio show. He's also been acting in a couple of TV shows, most recently playing himself on Rent-A-Goalie.
What are you doing here, Phil?
What am I doing here? I'm playing for the Italians, you know? It's Italian.
And scoring goals, and I mean a lot of them.
Here's Orr coming out. Fades to the left side, winds up for the shot, picked up the rebound, waiting for the score! Esposito!
Espo netted 76 goals in one season, my friends. 76, the most ever in the NHL until some guy named Gretzky came along and put in over 90. Now, Phil started his career with Chicago. That was in the early 60s. But the Blackhawks traded him to Boston in 1967. That was a big mistake for Chicago because, you see, the Bruins were already a good team. They had a guy named Bobby Orr, and when Phil joined, well, he just kept on scoring.
And a pass goes to Esposito. Shoots, he scores!
The Bruins teams he played on were tops in the league, and Phillip helped them win the Holy Grail not once, but twice. Phil was also a big part of Team Canada's massive Summit Series win over Russia in All right, Phil Esposito. Espo, one of hockey's all-time greats and perhaps one of the game's most colorful characters.
You do what you have to do, and the hell with the consequences.
Phil is a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's known for grabbing rebounds.